We spend so much of our lives thinking about money, how to get it, what we'll do when we have it, but what if the single greatest thing money can buy isn't a thing at all? Today, we're diving into the highest dividend your wealth can possibly pay. And honestly, the answer might just change how you see, well, everything. Okay, this right here, this quote is pretty much the heart of this entire explainer. Forget the fancy cars and luxury gadgets for a second. The ultimate prize that money offers is control. It's the freedom to shape your own life, to have real autonomy over your own time. So let's really dig in and unpack what that actually means for you. So, most of us, right, we chase wealth thinking it's the ticket to happiness. But happiness is tricky. It's complicated and super personal. There is, however, a sort of universal driver of joy, a common thread that applies to nearly everyone.
This is it. This is the absolute peak. It's not about a specific number in your bank account. True wealth is about having complete control over your own day. It's the power to command your own life, and that's a desire that everyone, everywhere, can understand.
Now, you might be thinking, okay, that sounds nice, but this isn't just some feel-good philosophy. It's actually backed up by some really fascinating psychological research that gets right to the core of what makes us tick. All right, let's hop in a time machine and go back a few decades. A psychologist named Angus Campbell, in his book, The Sense of Well-Being in America, decided to, dig way past all the surface-level stuff about happiness and find out what really moved the needle for people. And what he found was, honestly, a game changer. It turns out that having a strong sense of control over your own life was a way more reliable predictor of happiness than any of the usual status symbols. Your salary, the size of your house, or how fancy your job title is. The main takeaway here is just so simple. Having autonomy is way more important than just having a bunch of assets. But look, this kind of control doesn't just happen overnight. It's something you build up, step by step. It can start really small, right? Like having enough savings so you can take a sick day without stressing about money. Then, maybe it grows into having the breathing room to wait for the right job after a layoff, or the power to just walk away from a terrible boss. And eventually, it's the freedom to retire when and how you want. Each step you take up the staircase is just another layer of freedom, of true autonomy. Okay, so this brings us to a really fascinating and honestly kind of frustrating paradox of our modern lives. I mean, we've created more wealth than any society in history, but that hasn't automatically meant we're all that much happier. Let's look at why. So, this is the big question we've got to ask. With all our amazing tech and economic growth, why have happiness levels just stayed kind of flat for decades? The answer really lies in what we've traded away to get here. Just look at the difference here. Back in the day, work was mostly physical. You went to the factory, you did your shift, and when you clocked out, your mind was your own. But today, most of us are knowledge workers. Our brain is the factory. And since our brain never really leaves us, we're kind of always at work. The workday isn't a place you go to anymore. It's just whenever you're awake. And you know what? There's actually a psychological term for this feeling. It's called reactance. It's that little bit of rebellion you feel inside when you sense your freedom is being taken away. It's that feeling that explains why even doing something you absolutely love, but on a schedule someone else controls, can feel just as draining as doing a job you hate. So, this is the huge trade-off we've made, whether we realize it or not. We've used all this new wealth to buy bigger, better stuff. I mean, our houses have practically doubled in size. But what did it cost us? Control. Control over the one thing we can never get back, our time. Okay, so if all this data and these paradoxes feel a little overwhelming, where do we go for some real clarity? Well, sometimes the best wisdom comes from the people who've been around the longest. To try and get some answers, a gerontologist named Carl Pillemer did something pretty amazing. He went straight to the real experts on living a full life, the elderly. He talked to over 1,000 of them and basically asked a really simple question. Looking back on your whole life, what are the biggest, most important lessons you've learned? And their answers? Wow, they were so consistent, so clear. So what actually mattered at the end of it all? Things like quality friendships, being part of something bigger than yourself, and just spending simple, unstructured time with their children. You know what nobody said? Not a single person said, work as hard as you can to buy stuff, or pick your job based on how much money you'll make. And just like that, we're right back where we started, looking at that original quote. But now,
It's got the weight of 1,000 lifetimes behind it. The biggest lesson from people who have seen it all is just so clear you can't ignore it. The best thing money can do for you is give you control over your time.
So as you go about your day, thinking about your own career, your money, your life, I want you to ask yourself this one question. What dividend is your life really paying you? Is it measured in dollars? Or is it measured in freedom?